So, among the many titles you hold, you're also a CEO of Khama Digital.
Yeah.
And I really want to know, and I know some of our viewers really want
Yeah.
to know what Khama Digital is about.
Okay, so Khama Digital came out of actually my own work, like our own work, because I was partnering with two of my colleagues who are my friends, who are also my co-hosts on a podcast. And as we grew, I don't want to say we were the first people ever to create content. People have always been creating content.
Sure.
But maybe we were more, I think we were some of the pioneers in the beginning season of digital content. And so we just observed a gap in knowledge. So, we had all this experience, we'd made all the mistakes, we'd failed, we'd learned, we'd had some wins. And so we started to observe younger people doing it. And we're like, all these people have potential to become something more, but they haven't understood certain principles. Like every other piece of work in the world, there are principles. What if we could create a way to train them? What if we could create ways to teach them, create some type of mentorship? So that's where it began. As a knowledge resource, like let's create a knowledge resource for young creators. Over the past couple of years, it's now about 4 years, we've evolved into like shaping that knowledge for like institutions, small initiatives. That's more of our target now because we found that there was even more of a need there. There's so many people who are doing really interesting stuff. Organizations, like just different people, groups of people. And they have social media pages. Everybody has social media pages at this point. But when you go and see what's happening on those pages, it's really just a couple of posters, barely engagement, like how to engage people, how to talk to the people you want to talk to. Actually, do you know who you want to talk to?
How to sell your product.
Right? How do you, even before selling, because selling is the last part. People come in thinking of selling now, but you can't sell to me if we don't have a relationship. Online, there's like an emotional connection to what we buy. For example, clothes. There are like 1 million people that sell clothes. Why do I buy from Joanne? It's because there's a connection that I've created with her. She has somehow managed to connect with me. Is it about size, shape? What is it about? Like you create certain stories that connect with your audiences. Selling is literally the last part, and it can be the easiest if you build from the first couple of steps. So Khama Digital was really about knowledge resources. And so when we got our first tiny micro grant, we created a knowledge resource, and it's kind of, we're still building, like we're still such a baby. It's still a baby, but it's all about that. How do we give this knowledge to people who need it so that they can utilize social media well, not just have pages, use it well. Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. Actually, when you speak of selling being the last part of it, it makes me want to ask, when you were skilling all these creators, what are some of the biggest mistakes or misunderstandings we have towards digital creators or digital economy?
Maybe let me not say digital fully, but let me say social media, because the digital space is so broad now. Like it spans 1 million things. So speaking of social media specifically, that's one of them. We come in with a mindset of sell now. Hi, I'm selling this, hi, I'm selling that. And so that there's anything wrong with selling things. But online is different from sitting in a shop. It's a little bit different because online, again, I have this variety. I have 16,000 people maybe that I could buy shoes from. Why should I buy from Joanne? So the mindset of coming in with, I'm just going to sell immediately, is problematic because it just doesn't work. Maybe it worked at the beginning. In the earlier days when we were just on Facebook, it actually worked more then. But as we've evolved and people have become more, like the space is more saturated, sell now is not what works. You have to build some kind of relationships with people. So that's one of the misconceptions. And also there's a misconception that numbers equals success.
True.
But every group is different. Like for example, if it's an NGO, and I used to work in comms in like in the NGO sphere, it's not necessarily about going viral or having the most followers. I'm not saying those things are not important.
True.
But in order to grow in that way and to grow organically, not buying followers, you have to be able to create connections. And you can't create connections if you don't know who you're talking to. So who are you talking to? And intimately, like Joanne is this age, she goes to school here or she goes to work here. This is how much she earns. This is how she likes to consume her content. Maybe she likes podcasts. Like, who is that exact person? And then work your way from that point to get to know them, so that everything you create speaks to Joanne. Like, it's so specific. So even if there are 10 Joannes, just 10, those Joannes will stick with you to the end of time, as opposed to getting 1,000 people. Because viral, for the most part, happens by chance. I know there's all these formulas, go viral like this, go viral like that. But for the most part, it is just by chance. So if you are able to get to know your person well, it's that process that will lead you to, really connecting with them, and then again, bring you to selling. So numbers are less the focus, but it's more about who is the person you're speaking to, and if you didn't exist, what would be missing in their life? Like, if Joanne is not there, what is missing in my life? Because if you can't show me that, then I don't need you, right? So that's a question we don't ask ourselves enough, and that one even goes even outside of social media. If you don't exist, what's missing in your market? If you can't answer that question, then there's some more work to be done to answer that question. Yeah.
Very interesting, very good nuggets that we are all learning from this, which reminds me that we've always had classes for us, especially, and I say us because we are all content creators. We are creating content.
Yeah.
What happened to those classes? When are they coming back? The video classes.
So we changed models. We had to, because like any other business, you start, like, you're trying things. You observe something, you're like, okay, let's try this angle and see how it works. So the individual model made a lot of sense for the individuals, but it was difficult for us, for our business to sustain, to be able to pay who we are paying, to be able to pay taxes, to do all the things that a business requires, while working with the individual model wasn't working, which is why we moved into more of like institutions and groups and that kind of thing, because there we can still make that impact. But now what we make, the money that we make, can sustain us reasonably, because it fails the purpose if we are giving value to individuals, but we cannot sustain because there are people to be paid. There's there's growth to be done in the institution. So we had to move away from that individual model to make more sense for our work, really, and for longevity. It just was not going to work. So individual, I cannot tell you that's something that's going to come back unless something changes. We keep studying. It's a continuous learning. You keep learning and saying, oh, here is there an opportunity. Can we change? I think we have to keep being open to what is changing in our space and how we can serve in that changing space while still making sense as a business, because a business has to be able to sustain itself.
Now, when you speak of sustainability, meaning content creation actually involves putting in a lot of money, or less, but putting in money. Meaning you must be bringing out money as well. So how do you protect creativity while also building a profitable business as a content creator?
When you say protect creativity, what do you mean?
Not focusing so much on maybe getting deals, getting what, and then you lose that creative mind. Because I believe there is a difference. Okay, how do you balance it? Because I believe there is a difference from when you had begun before without the thought of, I'm putting in money, I need to get some money out of this. And now that actually you need to be also making money.
I don't want to say that I have figured out the formula because I haven't. But the thing about creatives, and let me speak for creatives, I can't speak for everyone in the world, but at least for like the creative space, most times you're so focused on creating the thing. The creating is what we know best. So while you focus on creating this good thing, whether it is a film or whatever it is, the business side of thing can go ignored. And that's for many reasons. First, because probably it's not your expertise. Secondly, because maybe you don't have the money to bring someone on board to manage certain aspects. So a lot of the times we find that, you're creating good things, but you can't market them well. You're not, maybe the accounting side is lacking, record keeping, like that. That's what I know happened to me and to us. We didn't know so many other things. So the creating was going well, but we didn't really have a working knowledge of a lot of other things. So we had to. You reach a point where you have to learn if you're going to last. Because things that last, they have to be, maybe I can use the word solid. So for example, even now, venturing out into institutions and so on, you can't get that type of work if you are not like a proper organization that is registered, that is accounted for. Sometimes you even have to submit some kind of statements of account and stuff like that. If you don't have all that on paper stuff organized, then the creative part will also suffer, because creativity does need money, does need structure, it does need all of these things. So then it takes you to the aspect of building a team, which is one of the hardest things, but it's doable. People have shown us building a team and making sure that you are able to have solid structures, because without a structure, you can't secure the type of work that makes you last. It's just not possible. No one trusts just individuals, they trust entities, So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.